Hi cuties, it's a little late on this guy, but it's okay. Yeah, whatever, no one cares. We're gonna talk about the books that I read in August. I did not read as many as I would have liked. I definitely did not finish my TBR. I ended up with 3 books still unread from that TBR, and I ended up reading 2 books that weren't on the TBR. So I'm doing really great with like my rules. One of them was already borrowed, so I had to finish that. And the first one that I read was Anne of Avonlea by Ellen Montgomery, the second book in the Anne of Green Gables series, and continuing my readathon of reading all the books of Anne of Green Gables. Why is it when I start filming, I immediately have to yawn? I mean, there's this thing in like vocal training and stuff that yawning is warming up your vocal cords, and granted, I haven't really done a lot of talking today, so maybe that's what's going on. Or I'm just tired. Anyway, Anne of Avonlea, fantastic, and I really thought I'd read at least the first 2 books when I was younger, but I don't remember things, and there's an animal death in here that I don't like. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but it hit way too close to home for me specifically. So if you know me and you know of an animal that I lost fairly recently, not recently, about a year and a half ago, then you know what I'm talking about. But I forgot about this entirely, that character that dies in this, and I'm not okay. I still love all of Anne's charm. I love seeing how the different interpretations of the movies and miniseries and TV shows and stuff take from Anne of Avonlea, because like if you watch Anne of Avonlea, the older Sullivan production of it with Megan Follows and Jonathan Crombie, it takes a very different turn of where Anne goes when she goes and meets all the Pringles and stuff, and they take a lot of the events that happen here that actually happen in Avonlea rather than and take it into that place that I forget the name of, but it's with Pringles. I call it Pringletown. It's not. Yeah, yawning. It's not Pringletown, but it's owned by all the Pringles, so might as well be. Anne of Avonlea, delightful. It's just so delightful. What's really interesting about reading these though, and reading classics in general, is a lot of the rules that modern authors today have to follow, or like, you know, the rules of writing in general, are things that all of the classics do. Like, a lot of times, Ellen Montgomery does kind of like the telling, does a lot of adverbs, you know, like she said mischievously or something. They do that, and that's something that they tell you nowadays you're not supposed to do. So it's really interesting to see that these are classics that everybody loves and adores, and yet they break all the rules that we are told now today as authors not to do. I just find that really, really interesting. So Anne of Avonlea. Next up was a book I was super delighted with. I loved it. I think it's adorable, and I get the hype now. And I'm gonna yawn again. Stop yawning. Anyway, that was The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This is the first T.J. Klune book I've ever read because, you know, this is the one that's making the rounds around BookTube and everybody loves it. And there's a reason, because it is delightful. And that is like the best word I can come up with. Delightful, charming, quaint, and it just makes you feel good. And I really love it. And I would like to hug the Antichrist. I relate to the Antichrist a lot in this. If you haven't read the book, then that's probably a very confusing statement, but I assure you, you'll understand. And this is an LGBT book as well. It makes it look like it is a middle grade or something, but it's not. It's actually about a 40-year-old man who is kind of a social worker for magical kids. and he goes to the house on the Cerulean Sea to investigate the house and make sure everything is shipshape and looking good. But there's a lot of secrets going on about this house. He doesn't know what any of the kids can do before going in there, and there's reasons for that because there's lots of different kids that are very special indeed. And it's really, really cute, and I love it. And I hear there might be a sequel or something coming out for this, which I would love to read because I think it's really, really cute. Now, I do also hear that some of TJ Klune's books are hit or miss, so I don't know which ones I would want to get into next. If you guys have recommendations about TJ Klune's writing, put them in the comments below and let me know where I should go from here, because this was delightful. A not so delightful book that I'm super bummed about that I didn't like, because I was really hoping I would like it. This has a great like Tumblr community, so it's been on my TBR for a while, and just a book that I was really intrigued with. Woo! Stop! Why so many yawns today? I'm not bored. Just FYI, I'm not bored by talking about these books. If you're thinking that with the amount of yawning going on here. I'm just apparently really warming up the vocal cords. Or exhausted. It might be a bit of both. Anyway, we're talking about Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Weir. And I am so sad that I did not enjoy this. I listened to it on audiobook, which might have done it because I just couldn't connect with the story. I wasn't getting into it at all. And I wasn't connecting with characters. I couldn't follow it as well. I just didn't connect. And I don't know why, and I'm really sad about that. I can't even really tell you guys much about the plot because I can't quite recall what this was even about. I know we have Gideon, who is kind of like an indentured servant who wants to run away, but then she's forced to pretend to be a cavalier, even though she's better with the big sword. And they have to go and do these trial things with her necromancer person because they want to be something. The next, what is it? Starts with an L? Lictor or something? I don't remember. I just didn't connect at all. And I'm really sad because I wanted to connect with this book. But I literally just can't tell you anything significant. And I was bored. And I didn't connect with anything. I just disconnected. That's my word of the day for Gideon the Ninth. I just was disconnected entirely. Another book that I was not sure if I was going to like or not, because I have tried this one before as an audiobook and I had to stop, and I didn't, because I didn't like it. I didn't like the audiobook narrator. And then I tried this again as an audiobook, and I remembered, nope, we hate that. So we read this physically, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Yes, I finally read A Darker Shade of Magic. Y'all can get off my back now. And I did enjoy it. It took a bit for me to get into it, but once I did, I was truly into it. And I really liked Delilah. I thought she was really fun, kind of different, strong, independent woman kind of thing. It took a while for me to really understand the magic system of this and the whole idea behind it and why they were running things, and it was very, very strange. I really enjoyed Rye a lot as well. He was kind of someone I thought would be a favorite character, but because he didn't do too much, I can't say with, 100% certainty that Rye is my favorite character. But I was kind of sad that he didn't really do much in this book. Maybe he does more in the next ones, because I really thought they were foreshadowing him doing more. And it was more, he was kind of the constant damsel in distress, which is funny, but I wanted more of his character. But I really, really enjoyed this. I definitely will be reading the sequel, which I don't actually own. I own the third book, so if anybody wants to send me a paperback copy of the second book, you go on ahead and do that, because I can't buy any books at the moment. But there we go. Darker Shade of Magic. I did enjoy this, and yeah, definitely now I can say I've read at least 2 V.E. Schwab books. Another book that was fun, it wasn't spectacular for me, was Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. And I didn't enjoy this. It's just, it's a Western, which I'm not really into all that much, but I give this one credit because it did a lot of twists and turns I did not expect it to do. And what was really, really funny, but also really tragic, was as I'm reading this book, I was like, oh, this character just, I just want them to die, because like, that would, or I don't know if I said I wanted them to die, but I'm like, if I was writing this, I probably would have killed this character off. And then the next chapter, they freaking die, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. Whoops. It was very tragic that way. The ending of this book was a little off for me because of the two characters. They're just separated for so long without any contact, and I'm like, I don't know if that was entirely necessary, but it was good. It's still a fun, adventurous ride, and I did like it, and I probably will read the sequel, which is not really a sequel, I think. I think it's more of a companion called Retribution Rails. Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was very fun. It was a fun romp of a time, and I do think a lot of people would like, especially if you are into Westerns and things like that, then this gave that feel of watching like a good fun movie of a Western that's not too of a stereo. I don't know. This feels like it could have been, no, it couldn't have been a Disney Channel original movie. No. Maybe, probably a fun Netflix movie. Like a fun one for YA. Obviously it is a YA. And I think it would be a fun romp that would be like a cult favorite kind of things. Because it's not like spectacular or anything, but it's got lots of good moments and a fun twist that you're like, whoa, what? So, yeah, okay. I explained that so poorly. I'm so bad. But we have 2 books left, and we're on to the other book that was not on the TBR, but I'd had it on hold on Libby for a really long time, so I was just kind of waiting for it to drop, and it dropped. And that was Casey McQuiston's One Last Stop. Now, I was very hesitant going into this book because we all know I love red, white, and royal blue. And I heard a lot of mixed reviews about One Last Stop, and I will admit, first half, I wasn't really into it. I wasn't connecting with the character so much because I wasn't understanding her. And then the second half of the book happened, and I went, I understand everything, and I get it, and I like it. And there's just something about Casey McQuiston's writing that just hits you. And it's romantic in the sense, not just like in the romance between the two characters, but in the prose itself. Feels romantic and also realistic at the same time. And I kind of wish I really, really want a companion to this with Will and Isaiah, but also Isaiah goes by another name. Is it Andy? Because it's a drag name. There's a drag queen in this, and she's awesome, and I love her. And Will, and I'd really like to see that story, because I don't think I've ever seen a like romance novel starring a drag queen, which I think would be excellent to read. And so I kind of hope Casey McQuiston does that. I don't know if Casey will, but I kind of hope that she does, because she's got some really great characters in here. I mean, she's had really great characters in Red, White, and Royal Blue that I would love to see a spin-off of. And I like Pez. I really love a Pez spin-off there, or a June one. And, you know, just spin-offs everywhere, because she creates these really intricate worlds that are, I mean, it's modern day world, but she creates these characters that have so much vitality in them that I just want to know more about all of them, and I feel denied that. But I did really, really enjoy this, and I think a lot of people, again, have that lesbophobia, which is why they were not enjoying this. And I have seen a lot of reviews where people are like, oh, I didn't like it because they were girls, and I wasn't into that. And I'm like, it's still a love story. She wrote another one, just had guys in it. It doesn't matter. But this was really, really beautifully told, and I love Casey McQuiston, and yeah, she will be an Insta-buy author for me, and I will read anything and everything that she writes. So please get on with the Isaiah and Will story in this, because I want to read a love story starring a drag queen. We already, like, so many people love the drag queen world now. Like, it's so much more accepted now with RuPaul's Drag Race and the podcast. I don't listen to podcasts, but I know there's some podcasts and shows with, like, Trixie in them, and I feel like we're ready for books, fiction books, with them as romantic leads. I think we're ready for that. Are we not? I am. All right, the final book that I read it like almost in a day, because I was like, I really need to get a book done. And this was like the shortest of them that I had left. And that is Chaotic Good by Whitney Gardner. And this is kind of a 12th Night retelling, very loosely, I will say that, where a girl who is very much into cosplay, but she's not into the actual thing that she's cosplaying. So, like, she cosplayed something from Final Fantasy, I think, but she doesn't play Final Fantasy at all. She just really loves the costumes because she's a costume designer, and the internet takes her down and just attacks, kind of ruins her life, and she doesn't really let anybody know about it, but she is a very famous blogger with her cosplay and stuff, and she wants to go and get some new ideas, and so she's going into, her whole family has recently moved. She goes into a comic book store where she is immediately gatekeeped by the bro of the store, who's very hating on women, and I was so scared that this guy was going to be the love interest for a while, because I'm like, how do you redeem that guy? And oof, he still needs a lot more redeeming in my book. And she ends up then, because she was so upset about that, her twin brother is like, just wear my clothes and pretend to be a guy, and so she does that and gets real in with the guys there. They invite her to play D&D, so she starts learning more about it and falls in love with one of them who knows that she's a girl. So there's not a whole drama between those two, but there's a drama between other characters and stuff when the final reveal happens. And it was fun and cute, but I feel like it needed to be longer. Like, it's super short, because so much of what happens, especially in the end, we need a lot more conversation about that. So this was kind of just scratching the little surface of how gatekeepiness a lot of the world of fandom can be. And I just wished it had given me a little bit more than what it had done, and a little bit more of a blowout. I say this a lot in books that I read that have conflict, is that they don't give me enough of it, so that it's a big boom with a really good resolution. It jumps to that resolution too fast that I get upset. So I'm like, I still feel like the burning rage as I drop the book inside of me, that I don't feel like it has been expunged enough. Okay? Understand what I mean? Anyway, that was all the books that I read in August. These guys right here. What did you guys read in August? If you read anything, how is your reading month going? September, mine's going okay. It could be going a little bit faster, but I did read a 28-hour audiobook, so dope. Okay, sure. Alright, cuties, that is it for this video. Leave any questions or comments down in the comments below on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter. You know what? Don't use Twitter, because I never use it. Just scrap that. Check out my Ko-fi page if you want to check out my books or support me as a content creator. I super appreciate it because of other big things happening that are very costly in my life right now. And I would super appreciate any donation that will help that. So, okay, I'm going to go now. Bye! Excuse you, pillow. What are you doing? Leave your comments below, down in the comments. Wow.